welcome back to the Random Horror Show. I am your horror podcast host, Keisha Lacey, and thank you for joining me. And of course, this podcast is broadcasted out of Texas, or say East Texas, aka the Iron Pine Curtain. And of course, here at the Random Horror Show, where we film, commentate, being random and silly and just going off tangents, of course, with horror, science fiction, fantasy, cult classics, and the obscure in movies, television, and books. Welcome, welcome back. Thank you to my OG listeners out there. Appreciate your listening ears. Shout out. We gotta give them a shout out. Shout out to my girl Wendy, my early birthday gift. Love her, love her. Wendy, love you. She listens to the show. Also, I had a really, really awesome birthday brunch with my aunt, and I call her Bookie, and she calls me Bookie. She's actually my ex boss, and I used to work for her. I used to be her subordinate, and they like took me out for brunch, and of course, shout out to my homegirl Lovely for making me my beautiful crown of a Pisces, like Pisces, and it's the colors of it is like that seafoam green, which I really really love. Um, she gave me a pair of earrings, and it was, of course, aquamarine. It's our birthstone, aquamarine for March. Love her, love her. She's also my B-Day twin. Um, had shots with her. I had literally like a really great time on my birthday. And though it's over, I really do appreciate the ones that was with me on my day. Um, excuse me. I didn't have like a big crowd or whatever. Like last year, I had a private birthday party. It was just only 10 people. Y'all, I roll in small numbers because to me, it's like this. Like, if y'all ever heard, I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. That's just how much I value people, especially the quality in people, those who have my back and I have their back. Also practicing reciprocity. Really, that's a big, huge thing with me. I don't do one-sided loyalty. That is for fucking suckers right there. I'm really big on that. I have, of course, everybody has in life has been burnt by people, things like that. I've just been smart about it. You have your friends, you have your associates, you have your coworkers and things like that. But just learn how to like separate that. But I really do cherish the people that are in my life, and of course some new ones and stuff. Really do like appreciate just being very openly and just being myself. Just I love meeting people. Like, trust me, I love meeting people. And you know what? I am an introvert, but I love meeting people. It's just I have to have a good ass vibe with them and shit. Cause baby, some of you motherfuckers be carrying some goddamn demons and everything. But anyways, tonight's podcast is gonna be the Brothers Grimm while I am doing my hair. Now, the Brothers Grimm is a fantasy. Like I said, we're in the fantasy part of our show. I'm doing fantasy all month. Also, just letting you guys know that I'm also on Twitch, so you can catch me on Twitch TV. I'm still working out the kinks with Twitch. I did a watch party for like a test watch party. So you can find me on Twitch TV, the Random Horror Show. I'm definitely there. I am still getting acclimated with the Twitch. Yeah, I know I sound like the Twitch, like the Instagrams, the Twitches. No, I'm not like, I'm dorky, but I'm not that dorky, okay? Um, I do like to keep in the now. But so far so good. I'm actually liking Twitch, and it's a it's very interesting. I like this program. I do you hear me? I like this program. I like this app. There you go. I like this app. But the Brothers Grimm is tonight's podcast show. Like I said, we are doing the fantasy part of our of the podcast. Um, it's just it's kind of like, it's not like really just we're taking a break from horror. Um, like fantasy is like one of those genres that I really love. Especially back in the 80s as a little girl. My first fantasy movie was The Last Unicorn. I loved that movie. As a child, I thought I was a unicorn, and I fell in love with unicorns. My mother, she bought me a brass statue of a unicorn for my 6th birthday, and I just cherished the hell out of that little. It was just the cutest. It wasn't, just intricately, it just wasn't like, you can find unicorns now that's like, made of glass and things like that. But it was a brass little statue of a unicorn. And, I found that to be a very unique gift, especially for a 6-year-old, because a lot of times, back then it was like Cabbage Patch Dolls, Strawberry Shortcake, Rainbow Bright, all of those little dolls, but uh my like little kid gift was like a very small brass, unicorn. And I've always liked that when my mother gave me that, I like that she's like, my daughter loves unicorns and she found it. I don't know where she found it at, but I loved it. And you know it's very sentimental to me because I still remember it, the way how she presented it to me on my 6th birthday. She also gave me a aquamarine ring for my 8th birthday. Man, I wore that ring all the time except for I made that fatal ass mistake. uh, Going to school, I had a teacher. I don't know. This teacher had a fucking problem. 2nd grade, and I was like, "Hey, I'm putting my ring. I don't want to lose my ring on a playground." So when we got back from recess, my ring was gone. Someone stole my ring, and it's like a common problem, like a commonality problem. I've always had as a kid is that, and even adult, that's the reason why I'm just like, I don't like for people to like know what kind of shit I have. Is that people just like to steal shit. I'm just like, it's a ring, that ring meant a lot to me. And when I couldn't find that ring and I knew somebody stole it, and I asked her, I was like, well, I did tell you, asked you to like put my ring, in a safe place because, a lot of times you had teachers was like, hey, kids, if you don't want, nothing to happen or get your stuff stolen or lost or whatever, you always trusted your teacher to like put things up for you because that was like the name of the game. But for some fucking reason, she didn't even want to do that for me and it got stolen. And that's where I lost like my whole trust with teachers, and I never trusted teachers again. And it took me years to like trust teachers because it was just that particular teacher that was just, I don't know, she was just like a whole bitch or something. I have no clue. And I'm not like really like call like women like bitches and shit like that. It's just it's just pointless to just be ignorant like that and jealous or, vindictive. I mean, I don't care if you didn't like me as an 8 year old, but like, please do respect me as an 8 year old. I just didn't get that whole, we just gonna be a bitch. And she was a bitch to a couple of students too, so it wasn't just me. But tonight's episode, like I said, is Brothers Grimm. It's 2005 fantasy adventure, and it had Matt Damon. Every time I hear Matt Damon, I'm like, Matt Damon. Y'all remember on Team America, World Police, Matt Damon, Matt Damon. That that has been stuck in my head. That has been stuck in my head every time I watched Team America like a couple of weeks back, and I just keep saying Matt Damon. I can't stop. I can't stop. And also has the late Heath Ledger. See how I just jumped into that and just being all serious. The late Heath Ledger. Um, Best performance that he did was the Joker in the Dark Knight series by Christopher Nolan. His Joker was just astronomically just out of this world. And it was like to me it was like a toss up of who was the best Joker, because you had a lot of you had Jack Nicholson. And I mean, I'm not a big Jack Nicholson fan. I just don't care too much for his work. There's some movies that I like Jack Nicholson, um The Witches of Eastwick. um yeah, I actually liked him in The Witches of Eastwick. And I also liked him in the Terror, when Roger Corman film. But it was like a toss up of like who was the best Joker, and I have to give it to Heath Ledger, because I don't know, Heath Ledger stepped his damn game up, and he actually about a smidge like just knocked Jack Nicholson's Joker down. We have Peter Stormare. Peter Stormare has always played like these different characters. He played the devil in Constantine. He was also with, you have to have that Keanu Reeves like connection. He was in the John Wick films with him. Peter Stormare, he's been in quite a lot of movies, and he always plays these really kooky, eccentric. Sometimes they can be shitty ass, evil ass, people, or when he played the devil, celestial um, characters. But he does have like this really interesting range. I could tell like whenever he's in a role that is really like over the top and eccentric, like this character, to great Cavaldi. He does it. He really does. And you also have Lena Heady. I know people say Lena Headley, Lena da 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 da, but Lena Headey, of course, we know her as Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones. She was also in The Purge. Boy, she tickled me in The Purge, though. I like Lena. I like Lena. She's she has a very good range of acting. And I was reading up on Lena. She also was, in the show of Sarah Connor. They had that a couple of years back, with the whole Terminator TV show. She does battle depression, and I do feel her on that. And she has like a lot of tattoos, and it just makes her feel better. I was reading up on that, and I was like, you know what? I get that. I really do. I really get that. And I was like, I have tattoos myself, and it's just not like, oh, tattoos are cool. But really, with my tattoos, um, it comes with a story of something that I went through. And I know my aunt, she was visiting, she's like, oh, you and your tattoos, and you need to stop putting all this ink on you, because no man don't want no woman with all these tattoos. It looks trashy and stuff. And I was like, you don't understand. these tattoos that I have, a lot of times it's something that I went through in a period of my life, what I was dealing with, or something that was very traumatic. That's the reason why I have them. And only my first one was actually the one that I have on my left shoulder, is the one that I just really wanted. And that was like, oh, this is like happy times. And then mostly now, like, what I have is basically something that I was going through. You also have Jonathan Pryce. Jonathan Pryce, he was in Brazil. He's been in many movies. He was, I believe he was in Jumpin' Jack. Yeah, he was in Jumpin' Jack Flash with Whoopi Goldberg. He was the mysterious man that was helping Whoopi and everything. And of course, the reason why he's in this movie, which I know the director is Terry Gilliam. Terry Gilliam he's like I like how Terry Gilliam is and everything. And if y'all don't know who Terry Gilliam is, he is actually part of Monty Python. I grew up on Monty Python. I grew up on that damn shit. I grew up on anybody. Yo, if y'all grew up on Monty Python, y'all know what I'm talking about. Oh, you remember the Holy Grail, the Life of Brian, the movies that they came out. That was like when I watched Monty Python as a child, it just like blew me away because I was talking to somebody about how American comedy has like literally has changed. Um, where you had like the slapstick comedy, the physical comedy, from back in the day when you had I Love Lucille Ball, with I Love Lucy, you had the Honeymooners, but Honeymooners was actually like a metaphor of like, yo, this dude is like beating on his wife. It was like a show about this angry ass abusive man, pal and the kisser, to the moon, Alice, meaning he's gonna beat her ass. But that was a little dark right there too. But when I started to get into a lot of British comedies, and it was because of my mother, it really changed my perspective on comedy. And then when I look at how American comedy is, and then like versus like British comedy, there's a lot of good funny people out there. Um, I liked it. I really did, especially the little goofy cartoon animation. It was like some stuff that just went over my head when I was a child, but then when I started to get a little bit older, I started picking it up, and I was like, oh snap, they're like, damn. I was like, they were literally. I was like, jeez. I couldn't stop laughing. And and then, just recognizing, you know, you have John Cleese, like John Cleese is like very, 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 very well known. Michael Palin, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, and you got Graham Chapman, and then of course Terry Gilliam. But Terry Gilliam, he went on to direct movies. I mean, even if y'all remember the last movie that Heath Ledger was in was the oh Lord. That like I'm trying to think of it. It's the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I felt that he was very brilliantly to have, you know you had, I think it was Jude Law was in this, and of course Johnny Depp, and to like change the faces because Heath Ledger passed away, left us very early. And he had Johnny Depp and Jude Law to like come in and like had to do these different changes of his face of the character. And I thought that was like really, really I thought that was really cool to do that because, they could have like did a CGI on some actor, green screen of, Heath Ledger's face, but they didn't do that. And I think that was a very smart move on Terry Gilliam's part with that. It shows that he thought outside of the box and still like you still had Heath Ledger. He also did 12 Monkeys. Lord have mercy, that movie was crazy. Of course, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. He's just been, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Shoot. And of course, Jonathan Price was in Brazil that he did. Oh Lord, The Fisher King was really weird. That was a weird movie, The Fisher King. That was a weird movie right there. But I like Terry Gilliam. I mean, he has some bangers, and then he had some so movies and stuff. But um but I do like how this movie like roll. A lot of people just didn't like. A lot of people did like the Brothers Grimm because it was different. I liked it because it does it talk of course we all know the stories about like Little Red Riding Hood, who was the Brothers Grimm. They were like these writers, and they had like these fairy tales, these stories that they collected, or from different townsfolk would just doing all this. Well, this is a little bit different. You still had like them just still in the core of being the Brothers Grimm. um but it does like a change of where, yes, they're writing the stories and stuff, but they're also con artists. And they're conning people because, they grew up poor, was in the movie, and that, they felt that like, we can bank off, like we can be scammers, we can bank off, these are, I guess you could say these are like the first scammers. Everybody's and it's like they took mm, it's like they take all these fables, these old wives' tales, these superstition stories that the villagers, talked about, and just made it like a profit off of it to like say, oh, we got rid of your lands of this witch, and blah 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 blah. And until they actually meet, there was a real live story of a princess that ruled the lands couple years, maybe like couple centuries back, and it lives in the forest. You also see Hansel and Gretel, in this story. You see, Little Red Riding Hood. So you see that they took the parts of these stories that the Brothers Grimm has brought to us, like everywhere in the world, and put them in this movie. And oh, I forgot to say, Monica Bellucci is in this movie too. This lady is very pretty to me. She does play Persephone in the second Matrix movie. And my daughter middle name is Persephone, also Greek. Married Hades, forcefully married Hades, and she comes out onto the world, enjoying, her mom and her mom Demir and stuff. And of course, she has to go back into the underworld and rule with Hades. That's the reason why we have our seasons and stuff. So, thought that was pretty cool. But Monica Bellucci has, like, she was really, like, popular and everything. And I don't know if she's still acting. She probably still is. Um, but she was very popular back in the 2000s, from what I remember. But she was a really good looking actress. She really was. Like, I don't know, it's just something about actresses now. They just, I don't know, they look the same to me. It's like I don't see any difference with them. They just look very manufactured. I like the actresses where you can actually like see a difference. I like different looks on actresses. But anyways, we're gonna be getting into this podcast with the Brothers Grimm after I get through with this braid, and we're gonna hear from our sponsor from Anchor FM. Alrighty, welcome back to the Random Horror Show, and tonight's podcast is The Brothers Grimm, a 2005 film with Matt Damon and the late Heath Ledger, Lena Heady, Cersei Lannister. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop myself. Jonathan Price and Peter Stormare. Mm. But yes, uh, Brothers Grimm is it's a fantasy movie. Love it or like it, but it's a little bit more exaggerated. It is directed by Terry Gilliam. This one's part of the still a part of Monty Python, and of course, it takes back like way back, way back. Anything that's like way back, it's way back. But it's like set, in the earliest 19th century. Of course, this is not like really the real life of like the Brothers Grimm. It's more exaggerated as them being con artists. It starts off, Jacob, he's like, I went to go sell the cow, but I got magic bangs. Because their sister was sick. And, you know, brother was like, what? You got some funky ass beans and stuff. You're supposed to sell that cow to like get some medicine for our sister. And of course, he slaps the beans out of his hand. And I guess that's just, the premises of them just like, okay, this is just showing, of course, like this is showing like about Jack and the Beanstalk. Of course, Jack, he went off and tried to sell the cow, and he came back with magic beans, and he threw them some bitches out. And how you come up the next morning, there's like a beanstalk. It goes up there, meets a giant. The giant smells them. You know how that goes. So they like weave that in like a lot of the fairy tale stories that Brothers Grimm has. Stories that we all like read and everything. And then it just has them. They're older. They're in a village, and they're fighting off the witch. And of course, this is all nothing but smoke and mirrors, because we don't know that they're actually they're actually con artists, and they have employed two people to like help them out, to say like if they hear like wind of like people saying like they have like this legend of this witch that is like haunting their villages, basically, just good old snake oilsmen and stuff like that. They come in a village and say like, hey, y'all, look at us, we're the Brothers Grimm. So they built like a reputation of doing this. Though the villagers felt that, you do have villagers that kind of had their suspicions about these brothers, really just exploiting them, just pretty much just basically like saying, I think these dudes think we're idiots and everything, but, they thought they were getting away. But they did the drop, on a villager, had like a fake ass witch, and they had like all the little special effects and junk like that, all the smoke and mirrors come to, and then we come to find out they are con artists. And and I was like, I can understand why the con artistry and stuff is because in the beginning of the movie we see that they did live in poverty, and that their sister was very sick, that they didn't have any money to at least get her a doctor or get her medicine. And so they just made it their like lifelong mission and stuff. Oh, I need another rubber band or like a what do you call it? Bobby pin. I got a bobby pin in my hair. But my hair is super long. But I could see reason why they do that, and I think that was like a really good gig because Jacob was the one that written all the stories. So he was like, you could tell he was like really smart. Um Matt Damon's character. He was like the good looking, like dashingly handsome. He had all the swag, the bravado, to convince the villagers that they are the best of like getting rid of their problems. And of course, Jacob is the one to document all of these stories because Jacob does feel very guilty of like he traded the cow in for some beans because somebody tricked him in doing that. And and I guess like somewhere like how he worked through of that is that he collect all these stories and stuff. And so they do go and do this, and they get caught. This is like around like a wartime, with the French occupation in Germany. So this is taking place, in Germany. And so you have Jonathan Price. He's like the general that like finds out that these guys right here um are basically, con artists, and they're all up in his territory and stuff. So he calls in Cavaldi, good grief. Capaldi. I'm thinking about Capaldi, the 12th Doctor from Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi. See, it's kind of hard though, because when I heard Cavaldi, I was like, Capaldi? Peter Cavaldi? I'm like, oh no, 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 not that. But Cavaldi captures them. He brings them to the French general, de la Tombe, and they were about to get executed, and they was like, yo, we're not con artists. They trying to prove their innocence, but they did they did finesse them people though. They did finesse them though. So that was like a good finesse they did, but they got caught with it because just to say, for them to like exploit the villagers with their superstitious stories that they have in the village, and they coin off of that. That doesn't mean that you're gonna have one of those villagers is gonna be sitting there going, they pretty sus and everything. How the hell they know what we have? Okay. So, villagers are not stupid. And they were about to get tortured by Cavaldi, and so they had to prove their innocence. But yeah, they did finesse those people out of their money. But then the real deal story, this is where the real action comes in. And it was like a little small town, little village called Marabandon, Marabandon. But anyways, there was a lady who was played by Lena Heady, Angelika. They were cursed because their father was lost. They didn't even know where their father. But also, she has three younger sisters, and they all disappeared and everything. And so everybody in the whole town was like, "Oh hell no, we don't want her around." I mean, she stayed in the town, but she stayed away. They kept her away. Even when she walked around, people like spat. You know, she's cursed. She's cursed. Her daddy gone. Her sisters are disappeared. They're cursed. They're cursed. But really, it was not a curse. This is actually a queen. It was a Thurigan queen that was like living among in their woods. And the story goes that she was a selfish ass hoe. Like she was beautiful as all get up, but the bitch lacked personality. She was very vain, extremely, extremely selfish. And there was like a great big war and things were going on, in when she married into this kingdom with the king, and his people were like dying, and it was like this wartime and stuff. She's sitting up there in the tower because she got this tower built, and she did not have nobody that can come in. There was no entrance. There's like a weird way that you can get up there, and it was just only her. So she's like sitting there singing and combing her hair and everything like Rapunzel. There you go. um and of course, for that crap that she was doing, because she was a bitchy bitch, and I know people who don't like this word and everything, but she was a cunt. I'm not scared of using that word. Trust me, I'm not scared of using that word. People like, I don't like that C word. I'm like, I just say it like it is. She was a cunt. And I rarely come out of pocket whenever somebody is acting like that. It's going to be a CU, but if you're acting like the whole word, I'm just going to come out with it. And of course, they pretty much like kind of cursed her, like, hey, since like you being all like that, you being all like that, and this is bullshit that's going on. She like, she was just like, I'm not. She thought she was safe, but like she caught the plague. There was a plague that was going around. She lost her beauty. Um, she was so mad. Like she was hot, mad, like steaming, scorching. She was like ashy to the heavens, like upset because she lost her beauty because of the plague. But she also, kind of dabble in some magic and things like that. So it actually, she's been in this tower for a very, very long time with her old decrepit ass. And the whole thing of what it is that she needed 12 young girls. It's always something about them vain ass heifers. It's always want to be in some damn magic or do some strange things just to keep their beauty. If y'all remember, there's like a I think there's actually a story of a princess or a queen. I believe it's somewhere in Eastern Europe or something like that. I can't remember. I remember reading this, but in order for her to keep her beauty, she killed people. She became a psycho. She became like a psychopathic killer. She tortured a lot of her servants, young women, and to keep and she drained their blood and she took a bath in their blood. And what she did is that in order for her to keep this beauty regimen where her skin is very supple and soft, so she won't, get very old, is that she killed young women. I think she killed some guys too, but this lady she was a royal, and she actually did this. She committed so many murders just to keep that bath of blood, to keep her beauty going. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh. I mean, you know, like, do you believe in moisturizer? So the Thurican queen did not believe in moisturizer. She believed in sacrifices, blood moons, and murder. And I'm just like, what is up with these heifers with this damn magic and this damn blood moon and these goddamn sacrifices? We're gonna steal these kids. And she basically targeted younger girls. Of course, like in one of the stories, one of the scenes, excuse me, it was a little girl with a little red hood, and of course, like that's from Brothers Grimm, Little Red Riding Hood. And she also had a huntsman. We come to find out the huntsman is actually Angelika's father, because Angelika's father went through the woods one day and he kind of got tired, hungry, lost, cold. It was cold, and so the queen summoned him, and she pretty much had a mirror where she is being deceptive because she is like super ass like this bitch look like Mum Ra off of Thundercats. Come on now, like she looked exactly like Mum Ra, but she had this mirror, of course, like that's from Snow White, with the evil queen, the stepmother. Um, and she, reflected that whole beautifulness and everything, but she was actually looking like goddamn Mum Ra. Um, she stuck this pin inside of him, which controls him, and so he was doing a lot of her bidding, even though she's up there in the tower and she's not able to like come out or whatever and stuff like that, looking like a like Mum-Ra and shit. At least Mum-Ra brought his ass out and stuff. He at least he did call like ancient spirits of evil transform this decaying body into Mum-Ra, the ever living. I mean, at least Mum-Ra like pulled like that. She just like, I don't want to do this shit. I just get me a mark. So basically, she had Angelika's father as a mark, and so he was doing all the dirty work. But you do see Hansel and Gretel in one of the scenes, and you're like, oh, you recognize like all the fairy tales that we all know like in this movie, which that's what I liked about it. And it does is like, oh, I remember this, oh, I remember that story. And it was a really interesting movie. Like I said, it was a very mixed reviews on it because I think like people were just like expecting some Brother Grimm type. I don't know what they were expecting. I liked it because it was unexpected. That's what I liked about it. It was just that unexpected. Um, to say that like the special effects that they had, especially with the when Gretel, whenever her little head shawl came off, um and my rubber band just popped out on my hair. My hair is super ass strong. But or there's some cheap ass rubber bands. Either or, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so she was running to grab her little shawl that she had over her head, and that's like how the third queen caught all of these girls. I'm still got a little bit of a cold. It's just still getting over. I'm still getting over it. But I was just kind of like, girl, do you see your little shawl flipping and flopping like it's carpet off of Aladdin? And she's gonna sit there and chase it. I was like, no, like, girl, like, you see something strange like that. I'm like, I'm just gonna leave this in the woods and just gonna run back where my brother is at. But she did. She used a lot of magic to get the girls to capture them, and she put them in the tomb. The tombs were around the tower. And of course, like the townspeople were very afraid to go off into the woods. Like it was certain parts in the woods that they did not go. into, because they heard it was, haunted, and there was like a sorceress, old, the stories of the third and queen that reside there in the tower. And though, people thought that was just like, oh, that's just superstition, oh, that's just an old story, just to scare kids and everything. It was like really, really true. Well, since, Jacob and Will, they went there and they were just like, oh, Uh, this is nothing out here. Yeah, it was something out there. And they noticed that like the trees moved because the queen had so much power out there in the woods that she can literally um have the trees to move up out of their roots and walk around. And like I was saying, the special effects did look a bit cheesy, and I think that was like pretty rushed through with this movie. I mean, I'm just gonna say it, like the colors of the, like I like the way how the colors are in this movie. They were very, very rich, and that what stood out about this movie. And if if y'all are big fans of Terry Gilliam's work, like Terry Gilliam believes a lot in color schemes. He's really big on that. And they're very, very vibrant and very rich. A lot of times when you have if you just have a regular moviegoer that does not know a lot of things about colors, the psychology of colors, like color therapy. A lot of times those colors like affect our moods. They also set the ambiance of a scene. um, Sometimes when you use colors, particularly of different characters, it also can be the atmosphere or the environment, because you see how you see the queen is like in these rich royal reds, and she's very vibrant whenever you see her in her beautiful form. But then when you see her in her real true nature of looking like Mumra, you have like this real, and I know he like plays a lot with texture too. This real murky gray, we know is old, like super old, decaying in death, and just rot with the queen. Even the forest, uh, it's just like these just beautiful, like just amber color with the with the pine needles, the leaves, and things like that. I mean, even to Angelika's costuming, that she had these furs. And then when she was in the town, if you could tell like a difference with this, like when you could tell when she was in town, like how people like, oh, she's cursed and like that. You see like this very muted gray with the town that she lives. And you see how the townspeople, like how muted and how gray and dull they are, because they're like in sadness about the girls being missing. And before, if you cut through some scenes before all of this happening of like the girls and everything, is that the town actually had like a little bit of a fire with it. It had like had like punched up with some color with it. Um, Particularly with Little Red Riding Hood whenever she was running out of the woods. And of course she got caught and everything else, and you can see like how the town looked at night, and during the scene when Little Red Riding Hood was trying to do her best to run back into her village. It had like that, it had a spark to it. But then when the more girls that got missing and got disappearing and stuff, the more the colors have like muted and grayed out and very muddled is because they were mourning. You gotta like pay attention to things like that, like how um, colors can really affect our mood, and it also can affect a scene, and just like it can like just tell the audience of like of one thing that happened, and then you had all this action going on, and then you go in a couple scenes like forward, and you see like how drastically the colors have changed. And like I was saying about Angelika's costuming when she was there, it's like kind of but when she was in the woods with Will and Jacob the first time, you see the colors like in her furs. It was very lively because she was like in a place of where she was happy. She was a huntress. The woods, the forest was her, like that's like her domain. That was like her motherfucking place to kick it at. You see like how her hair was very vibrant. It has to do like that. It has to do a lot with that. I don't know if like people have caught that like in this movie, but I definitely caught that first time I watched it. And I was like, oh snap, like this is like it was very visual. If you're a very visual person, and you know all about like if you were in art or like theater or whatever and crap like that and stuff, you know what I'm talking about right there. But that's like a big thing with Terry Gilliam is he is I don't know, maybe, I mean, this is just my theory about like a lot of his movies that I've watched, is that he is so super big with color. He is just he's definitely like, I mean, I caught it. I caught that shit right there. But but like but just going back into it, you do have to have like, I mean, it's a Terry Gill, like Terry Gilliam directs it and everything. You got to have like some eccentric person, in this movie, which is Cavaldi. He is this Italian assassin. Like he is good at his job, and I like the dynamic how he was, because he was just like he was the comic relief in this movie. And you see like how like many changes that he like went through. um First he was just like, we gotta get these guys, they're like big con artists, ooh, I can't wait. He had like all that like whole patent leather black look and shit, like he was, like he's finna roll off like in the band with Rick James or some shit like that. Dude has like this toupee, and he had like them curly cues on the side of his face, sideburns. I mean, he was literally, he was, he wasn't fashion faux pas. He was just fashion forward with his shit. But Cavaldi, like he was just psychotic, but it was like something in him. You just like, he is just a goofy dude, but it was like he's goofy, but he's high and he goofy. That's the reason why he took up the art of like assassinations, and like he was real good at his shit though. But he was comic relief, and you think that he wouldn't be comic relief, but he actually was. And but you see like how like a lot of his stuff like have shifted. He didn't like them, to like he was very skeptical of them, and then when they went into the woods, um and he's seen what he's seen, he started to believe about like, hey, I don't think these guys are like putting on a show like they used to. this is some real deal shit. Like, we were dealing with some stuff. Even when they went back into the woods to come and produce like all these girls, which they have been wrongly accused of, because they're not murderers, they're con artists. Like, they're not gonna murder people, not small children. And they were, they like, and they were like, fuck it, we're just gonna burn them up. And they set them in the woods, and they, literally, set the forest on fire. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, that is a huge, big burn control they have to do, right? I'm filming that scene right there. And that was like the time that you seen Cavaldi. He was actually like, he started to like them, and he was really he was struggling, like, okay, I serve Delatone with his eating everything ass. The man just eat all through the damn movie, didn't even take a damn break. But he was like, I'm loyal to him, but I actually see the innocence of, Will and Jacob. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I know they're con artists, but really they are trying to like help out this town, like for real, for real. And he's seen that, like, okay, they could have ran away and just like said, forget this mess right here. But that was like the thing about about both of them, is that they were both in love with Angelika, and they really want to help her, but they was like, okay, we gotta help the girl, but we can like exonerate ourselves from this, from this crime that we're falsely being accused of. And it was like an adventure for them. It was like a big, huge ride for them. But they could have ran away from it, seeing all that, but they didn't. You could tell they had like a lot of heart. And that's what Cavaldi liked about them, is that like, oh wow, these guys ain't no like, you know, they ain't no big pussies and shit. And Cavaldi was actually he was like actually afraid. He didn't want them to die whenever the general was like, oh, go ahead and like burn their ass and burn their little bullshit ass book. But Cavaldi, he was like, yay, y'all are alive. When everybody's like, yes, y'all are alive. I'm so happy to see y'all. But then you seen that Cavaldi was actually scared of the general. I mean, the general looked like he wasn't about shit. All he just did was just ate and drink and burped and demanded, and of course he's a general and stuff like that. But you really seen Cavaldi like being like really scared, because he's supposed to be like this really huge famous assassin, executioner, he loves it, he just reeks off, just dripping wet with all this, torture and mayhem, and just want to make people scream, and he just gets off on that. And then you see this little funky ass dude that eat a ground up ass like cat that got caught up, and it lands on his face, and he sits there and tasted like it was like pate or something, or steak tartare, but it was cat tartare. And Capaldi is like afraid of him. And that's where you see like Capaldi in like so much fear. And but he's like, I'm gonna make the right choice. I'm gonna be friends with him. But he helps him out. He really does. And that was good, because he's like an eccentric person. I like how Peter Stormare, like, he plays these eccentric characters, and sometimes His characters that he do play kind of run a little bit of the same. That's just my opinion. Just like how Denzel plays every character about the same, but the only two movies that he actually played, and it wasn't like just a regular I just be Denzel character, was Training Day and Fallen. Fallen is actually oh my god, that was like the most underrated movie I've ever like that movie is so underrated. Everybody can tell me, oh man, oh, a lot of fun, John Q, nah, bitch. Training Day and Fallen are like the best movies that I like with Denzel in there. Trust and believe. That's just my opinion about this shit. But yeah, like I mean, like Cavaldi was not like a two-dimensional character. He really wasn't. But it was very like he is like a goofy ass dude, and he was like really lovable. I mean, cause just like you in the beginning, you just like I hate this dude, but then you're like, no, you can't hate this dude, cause this dude is so goofy. He's so eccentric. You can't gotta love an eccentric person. I'm eccentric myself too, but you can't hate eccentric people. They just how they y'all. But yeah, but yes, the Thurgan Queen does betray Angelika's father. She chooses Will because that's Matt Damon. He had those little golden little lock hair or something. I don't know. It was like working for him in this movie. And she put the thing in his chest. And he's all like, the queen, blah, 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 blah. But yes, but one thing that like destroyed the queen is that Jacob learned that the queen used the mirror for her illusions and deceptions, and he destroys it. And that was the end of that half of makes perfect sense to you to really just destroy a mirror. This is where she draws her power and her magic. The girls are saved. I'll Capaldi is not dead. And it was the end of the movie. And that was it of like Brothers Grimm. But like I said, it was like mixed reviews like on this movie because I was like, sometimes I like movies like this. Like people were just like, I don't know. Is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be bad? And just go and just watch it. Shit. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. But like, yeah. I mean, like, shoot, like, I mean, but like, what I liked, it was just so different, and it actually did very well at the box office, because the budget was like I'm just gonna say it's like 88 million. And they capped off of it pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Because like the box office was like 105.3 million. So they got their money back. And a couple of change. They did. They really did. And I wouldn't even I would not totally shit on this movie. It is. It's like one of those movies that you can just like, you know what? I haven't watched Brothers Grimm in a while, and you watched it and you're like, oh, okay, and there's like some stuff you haven't seen, like you haven't caught really when the first time you've seen it, and then you're just like, okay, I still enjoy this movie. And then you go back like a couple of years later and you're just like, oh, let me watch Brothers Grimm again. And it's like one of those nostalgic. It's becoming like one of those nostalgic movies to where um you still enjoy the magic, the pure magic of it. You still enjoy that it is laced with the Brothers Grimm's fairy tales that we all read and grew up on. It has Heath Ledger and Matt Damon. I mean, of course, like it's and it is. It's a very visual movie, and you have a good laugh at it. The suspense, the mystery. You get your fairy tale on with this, and I liked it too. And I still enjoy it. I still enjoy Brothers Grimm. I still do. Um, no cap on that. It's not like something that you just want to watch every weekend, but it's still one of those like movies that like, hey, I ain't got nothing to do. I ain't seen this in a long ass time. Let me watch this. Yep. It's like one of those movies. I know it was a really good movie that I definitely watched like over and over is Stardust. I love Stardust. I haven't watched Stardust, and that's gonna be another um podcast right there, Stardust. I love me some damn Stardust. Oh, I love Stardust. But anyways, that's enough of my time. And the rubber band popped in my hair, and I need to get a bobby pin so I can pin my hair. So I won't be sitting up there looking like a wild woman. Just have it nice and neat for me, just to function and stuff with my cute self. But anyways, peoples, thank you for listening to tonight's podcast of the Brothers Grimm. I really do appreciate it. And for all the Pisces out there, if you know a Pisces, your family members, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, whatever, coworker, the fool down the street, tell him happy birthday. Tell him happy birthday. All right, then. That's enough of my time. And thank you so much for listening to the Random Horror Show.